Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Tyrone Berger, and I am here today to talk to you about suicide. I am here to educate you on the signs and the effects suicide attempts have on the victims and victims' families, as well as what you can do to help before and after an attempt. To make this talk more personal and relatable, I am going to share some stories that relate to these topics from two of my patients with their permission. Conrad is an attempted suicide survivor, and through his therapy with me he has educated me through his story as well as has supported my previous findings. Before my patient attempted, he showed very little signs that his family could see. It is important to know some of the signs to look for if you might have someone you know is suicidal. Some signs the National Institute of Mental Health include are as follows: talking about great grief or shame, talking about feeling empty, hopeless or no reason to live, using drugs and alcohol, acting anxious or agitated, withdrawing from friends and family. These are just a few and there are many more. However, there was one sign, and Conrad's grandfather knew something was up. Unfortunately, his family later never connected the two, but when they were on vacation, Conrad called his grandfather and asked him a very out-of-the-ordinary question to be asking while on vacation about lights, and right away his grandfather knew something was wrong, which could be another sign. There is one more sign that I only later found out about him in my first session with him that most likely wasn't caught because it happened right before his attempt, but he had lost contact with his friends. He told me that he had got out of touch with them right before he had left. To do the best of your ability to help a survivor after a suicide attempt, according to Jane Brody, is that it is extremely important to get the survivor to consistently go to scheduled appointments with some type of therapist. Conrad's father Calvin made him go to therapy to see me, which was the right thing to do to help his son, and now Conrad enjoys coming to see me to talk. In a New York Times article written by Jane Brody, it states a lot of suicide attempters will try again in the first 3 months to a year that follows their first attempt, which is why it is important to get the survivor or any suicidal person help as soon as possible. The suicide attempter is not the only one affected following a suicide attempt. National Center for Biotechnology Information, or NCBI, confirms feelings of guilt in the family is a very common repercussion after a suicide attempt in the family. Calvin came to seek help of his own from me, where in his first session admitted to me that he has heavy guilt. NCBI also states that after an attempt there can also be effects to family relationships. This does not happen on purpose, it is just one coping mechanism the brain has. I not only see this with Conrad and his relationship with his mother, but also with Calvin and his wife. Conrad believes his mother hates him because he ruined her floor during his attempt. However, that is not true. She is held back from him because that is her way of dealing with the traumatic events in her life, and doesn't know a healthy way to cope with things, and that is her way. This affects Calvin and her as well because he doesn't understand why she isn't like him in dealing with their problems, which also puts a hindrance on both of those relationships. Suicide is a very prevalent thing in our society that unfortunately isn't talked about enough, along with other mental health issues. I came to you today to just give you a brief understanding of suicide. I hope that you go on and do more research to further educate yourself on suicide as well as other mental illnesses. Beware of what people around you might be going through and if you might need to get them help. Thank you all. I am Dr. Berger. Have a great night.